Hello, everyone who's joining us on YouTube, or you're watching it again so you can see how to do our persimmons. This was the photo that I found on YouTube this morning. I think it's very attractive. I thought this was a woven bowl, but I think it's a wooden bowl. And this is the little Inktober I did this morning. I sketched it just freehand with ink and then covered this up with ink and put a few colors in. So that's where it's coming from. There's the photo that I sent. And the work that I've done so far is I took non-water soluble graphite, so I'll see my lines, and I traced around the bowl and around all the leaves and around all the persimmons. And then I went ahead and I painted the outside already. I painted the outside with Payne's Gray. This is a tube that I've got in Evelyn's bag of old paints. And if you don't have a Payne's Gray, you can use indigo. If your indigo is not dark enough, you can mix it with sepia or with French ultramarine blue. So I did the outside first. So now it's just a matter of painting all the fun, easy stuff. And I'm going to start with the persimmons. When I was painting this, I got a little speck of the Payne's Gray right there, which is pretty staining because it has indigo in it. So I'll just have to make that into a spot on the persimmons.
Mary Kay, did you wet your paper first or not?
No, I didn't. I'll show you how I did it. What I did was I just took my Payne's Gray and made myself a blob right there. I used my brush. It just has about a half of brush stroke of water. You can't see that. Where'd it go? Here, I need to move this up a little bit. There it is. So that's the little blob. And then I just
put it on.
Like that. So that's just a little bit of water into that. And I used this brush because it goes right around all those little edges around the leaves, and I just filled it in pretty solid. So like a half a brush stroke of water into the puddle, and I just did it like that.
Okay, thank you.
And then really rinse that out well, because we don't want any of that in our yellow paint. So we've done so much orange this fall. I love it.
Me too, my favorite.
So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to start with the persimmons. Oh, see, just a littlest bit of that dark color into my yellow. There it is. That's good. We just want that. We want that kinds of yellow to be perfectly yellow. I'll start at the top one. And what I'm noticing are the highlights. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe a 6th highlight on this. So I'm just going to start with yellow, because this is the best way to paint orange, which seems unusual, but we've seen it work for pumpkins and sunsets and so many other things. I'm going to do one at a time here. And I'm going to go right now and try to get those spots to lift up to nothing. So what I'm doing is I clean out my brush, and then I dry it, and then I go to the spot where I want it to lift and rub it, and then touch it with a clean paper towel. Hey. So that lifts it up. I guess you could just not paint it there in the first place. That would work. I think in order not to waste this yellow paint, I'm gonna go around these other persimmons too with just the yellow. So this is all dry on dry. So I'm gonna lift out a couple little highlights. Go on to this one. I'm not painting the leaves yet, just the orange part. Starting with yellow. When I did the Inktober with this one, I did it from my phone and I couldn't really see what some of the things were. Some amount of freedom in that. So now I'm adding permanent rose to the yellow to make my favorite orange. And just as a kind of a trick that I do, and I don't really think about it, but I want to share with you. So when my brush is clean, I go into the middle of the puddle. And when my brush is dirty, like I go into the middle because my brush is clean into the red. But now if I'm going to go get more yellow with a dirty brush, I go on the side. So I have a clean side of my yellow paint and a dirty side of my yellow paint. There's a good orange. Let's see how this goes. Oh, okay. Like it. I'm going right over the dark spots because the dark paint will cover those spots. I mean, I don't have to, when I paint dark over, I don't have to leave them. I'm trying to leave those highlights now though with this orange. That's a dark spot, so I can do that. And light spot. What I'm going to do now is try to get this orange paint to make it look sort of round. I want to get a round feeling by darkening the edges and having the disappearing edges come up. So I'm going to take more permanent rose and make a really permanent rosy spot in my puddle here and put that at the bottom of this persimmon. And right up here too, kind of goes dark next to the highlights and into here. And here I see the dark. And if I'm sneaky, I can just sort of use my brush to, oh, I like how it was bleeding up. That's almost there. I think it needs a little bit of French ultramarine blue where it meets the basket. It gets very dark in the shadow right in here. So what I'm going to do is take some permanent rose and some French ultramarine blue, make it purple. And I'm going to take that purple and I'm going to add it down into these deep shadows here. And they're very deep right next to this leaf. Really even darker than, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take some of that Payne's Gray. Oh, I'm scared, but I'm gonna try it. Oh yeah, that goes nice and dark. So I'm putting this now into the wet paint, so it's kind of bleeding. I'm gonna put a little down here too. We get it nice and dark, right to where that's gonna be really dark, so that won't show up as much. So this is for the shadowing of the persimmon so that it looks like it's round. This little spot where I'm painting right now is the center, and it kind of has a roundness to it. This is a little bit softened on the highlight. Okay, I'm liking that. It's gonna leave that a little bit. I'm gonna leave that. It's a little bit stark, but and then when we get the darks in there, I'm hoping it's gonna look good. So I'm gonna go on to the next persimmon now. I'm back to my nice orange. Let's start with that. Go around the edges. There's a highlight right there that I'm going to put in, or just darken around it. Trying to leave those whites that I left, because the light shining on the orange makes us know that it's got a nice smooth skin. It's like kind of like a what's that purple vegetable?
Eggplant.
An eggplant. They're really beautiful to paint. I cannot stand the taste of an eggplant. But my daughter knows that about me, so she got me some eggplant earrings. I think I've shared that story before. Okay, so that kind of looks like highlights. But you want the shape of the highlight to make it look like it's the top of that persimmon. So now I'm going to go back to that dark red with a lot, so dark red meaning my yellow with a lot of pink in it. And I'm putting it on the bottom and around the sides and letting it sort of, so, excuse me so much. I was out in the garden eating raw broccoli. So there's a nice part right here. I don't know if I can get it to lift right now yet. So in the picture, there's a highlight coming down to there. It's kind of like a bud. So I'm trying to lift it. So I've got a clean brush. I dry it on my paper towel. I just, and it lifts it up. So it left that. That's good. And I'm softening this edge here, so it's more of a, like a disappearing edge almost. Because that's what I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to make it feel like it's darker on the edges, and gradually gets lighter as it goes up the fruit. So now to the purple that I made with French and the pink to add it. This one's not as dark as the one I painted first. Sometimes the paint just sort of creeps up on its own, and sometimes you kind of have to help it. Ah. I'm going to lift this out again because it disappeared. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. It's the same thing. Make my orange. Whoa. I like that orange though. I think, can't really tell. That right there, I guess, is the bottom of that one. And then this one is over the top. Okay, I think that's what it is. Remember back in the 70s, orange was a really popular color. You guys remember that?
Yes.
So we had orange. Well, they didn't call it tile. What was it? That plastic stuff? What was the name of that? Linoleum. We had orange linoleum. I had an orange shag carpet, and my dresser and vanity, we painted them orange. I don't know. I
Did
guess
you love it?
I think, yeah, that's so funny. Okay, so I'm lifting here to get the highlight so it feels like this is the top. Oh, that was a kind of a, all right, I'm liking that. Okay, I'm gonna add some more orange, just like I did before, to the bottom. It's a leaf. And then the pink. More. To be careful with the amount of water in your brush and the amount of water on your page. All the time you have to think about it. Because right now I have paint down there, and if I were to put a bunch of water in my brush, it'll just make a big watermark. So I have to make sure that touch my paper towel so that I take out the extra water, because now I'm adding in the shadow down here. I don't want it to be a big, I don't want it to take off and make a big watermark. Although it might, oops, it might do it anyway. This one's skin is not as smooth. I'm going to add just the tiniest bit of Payne's Gray down here. Okay. This spot that I'm pointing to right now is way too bright for that piece of fruit. So I'm just going to use, this is just a clean, damp brush, and I'm just using the paint that's on that persimmon already to lighten it, or not unlighten it. Smudge the paint around. Well, there wasn't quite enough, so I'll add a little bit more. Probably here too, a little bit. That's, I think, better. Okay, the next step is, I think, the leaves. Let's do the leaves. So all the leaves are green and brownish green, and there's lots of highlights. So that's the pretty part. So I'm going to just make myself a spot here. And this is dark green. So the dark green that I make all the time is my favorite, burnt sienna. If I had it squished out my burnt sienna right now, I'd be able to just touch that and have a ton of it, but I didn't. And Antwerp. That's it. Just, oh, I love this green. All right, there it is. That's not going to get me very far. I think I will start with this green right there where I'm pointing. So in this picture, it's right there. I'm going to start with the really dark stuff in the middle. I'm really just kind of painting by numbers almost. But I think it's it's unusual and nice. Okay, so. So that big green blob that I just put in is all the same color green right now. So I wanted, and I never want to have it more than an inch be the same color in a painting. So I'm going to add some more Antwerp into that and put a little more of that color up in the corner and down here. I could put a little bit of Payne's Gray in there because it's really dark right in there. And I'm using the belly of the brush just to put a few like leaf shapes in there. I don't really see a lot of veins, except right here there might just be kind of one orange one. So to make a vein, I'm going to take my bamboo. This is the perfect lifting because it's not shiny, or it's just barely shiny, and I'm just going to put a vein. So it'll either go darker if it's too wet or lift up like it just did. And that's how I signed my name too. When I got this all dark on there, and I had put it on pretty dry, so I just took my bamboo and wrote my name into it and lifted it up. So there's that one. Now I'm going to do this one over here because it's the next darkest. Not quite as dark as the middle of that one. I feel like I should be painting faster. Okay. This one has some little bit of lighter yellow up here in this little corner. So I just threw a little bumblebee into that puddle. And I want my paint to blend and do a few weird, beautiful things without so much me painting it all in perfectly. Okay, now I'm going to make more dark green. I did the card the first time. These leaves weren't so big. I didn't need as much paint. Okay. I love the dark against the orange. It's really so beautiful. I feel like there's the little baby's butt right in there. Just letting it do a little bit of granulation. And blending into itself. I do see a lot of veins in this one. So they are dark though. So maybe what will happen is if I start scrimping, and it looks like they start right here and they go out to the top. So there's one vein here. They might, oh yeah, perfect. So it was wet. So when I scraped it, the paint brushed in and made it darker. And then there's one that kind of goes up this way. And there's one, let's see, they alternate. The veins alternate, so they don't come out of the same spot. They go up there, and now another one over here. And then I don't want to overdo this. Then they come out from those two. So that's plenty of veins. So now, where to? You have a question? No, we're good? Keep going? Okay, I feel like I need to paint faster. I feel like I'm slow. So I'm gonna work on the outside of this one here. And over here. Very carefully go around my orange. And then this is where they start to pop up because of the darks next to them. Oh, so beautiful. The colors are so beautiful. So that part of those green leaves is very dark too. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a little bit of this Payne's Gray or indigo, whatever you need to use. So it's right in here. Actually goes down and around. And right here. I think this one could use, I don't know what that is. I think it's a separate leaf. I think I'm not going to put in marks on that one. I'm going to take some of that yellow, or I can use raw sienna too. That's ugly.
Mary Kay, what colors were you using in the leaf? I'm sorry.
Okay. What's keep going with these leaves. This one in here is my little bit lighter yellow, which is Hansa Yellow Medium and Antwerp. Actually, it kind of looks like there's some orange and burnt sienna in there. Ah, so I'm just gonna, oh yeah, there we go. Just gonna put that over the top. And it hopefully will look like the leaf has turned. I love the little like red in there. So I'm gonna add a little bit of my permanent rose into the orange and just put that into this leaf. Try to make it look like it's twisting around. Okay, I'm almost there. I have the lighter yellow. Oh, I have a lot of orange there. Ah. Try again. There's that leaf. And I have this one put in. It's a little line of light leaf down there. Then these guys, I'm going to start with my light yellow, which is Antwerp and the yellow medium. I'm going to start with the tips of these leaves down here with that light green. That's awfully bright. It doesn't fit at all. I'll dirty that up. I'll take that dark green and I just love how this bowl has a light edge. I think it's so attractive. And I want to have the really dark green right next to that bowl. I don't want that edge too perfect. So I'm going to take my Payne's Gray and put it down here, and it's going to bleed up here too. And it's kind of here. And what else do we have? We have a few last leaves then. Oh, this one has to have some brown or yellow or something on it to make it look more leafy. That was raw sienna. That's dark area, okay. Okay, so I have these leaves here and a couple here and this one left. So I just have my little leaves left. So I'm going to use the same idea here. I'm going to start with some kind of mixture of yellow. This is raw sienna with a little bit of the Hansa yellow. And I'm going to start with yellow, a little bit of yellow on these leaves and here too. And then there's this one. Then I'm going to start adding the dark greens in there. So there's my dark green is Antwerp and burnt sienna. And there's a stem on this persimmon leaf. I think these leaves are very bumpy. So I went around that little stem. And then when I paint the green paint into the yellow paint, it sort of bleeds in and makes some nice watercolor looking things. Now I'm going to take my Payne's Gray and just darken these edges. This is nice and dark right here. This is dark under here. It looks like it's the shadow. It's dark right by the stem. So a bit of darkness there. Not so much dark right there. What is that? Some yellow. We can do some yellow. I'll let this dry and then I'll put the stem in. So there's some more leaves. Oh, it's starting to look like a plate, a paper plate with persimmons. This one leaf here looks very brown, so I went into the burnt sienna, heavy on the burnt sienna. Going nice and smoothly around the orange. Dark green. Little bit of the, and where else? These guys right in here. I'm almost done with these leaves. Want to go nice and dark, super dark in this area that I just painted. So again, that's going to be my Payne's Gray or indigo if that's what you're using. This is very, very dark in here. Very, very dark right here. Very, very dark here. Okay, I think that's the leaves. Just took sort of the side of my brush and put another coat on that leaf. So now I have 2 stems and the bowl to do. I like how it looks when I look at it on the computer screen. Okay, so the stem is, I'm just going to use burnt sienna and see how it looks. And then there was something here too, it looks like a stem. And again, I'll try to shadow those. So I just put dark on the bottom of them and let that run up into the paint, and that's good. And then the bowl. So the bowl to me is purple. So I'm going to mix purple and wipe on my green. I had purple here earlier. I'm going to go back to purple. Purple is French ultramarine blue and permanent rose. And I just add both of those colors until I get a purple that I like. Ah, it's very pinkish purple. I'm gonna just go for it. More pink maybe, I don't know. Okay. So I'm just gonna paint in purple. Be very careful, not go over my orange. I did it anyway. I left a little white line at the top, which I'll soften later. And I'm gonna go into the Payne's Gray. And the same thing. I'm just putting that next to I'm putting it in the bottom and it's going to bleed up. Oh, I like it. Okay, and then I just need to do that in these other few spots around the edges and we've got it. So, okay, it's purple and then Payne's Gray. Okay, so I'm just going to twist it around. Whoops.
Oh, we lost you.
I came back.
You're back.
I came back. So I'm just going to do these same things on the rest of the white paper. I have to admit that I'm losing a little bit of my patience. So I feel like when I'm doing a demonstration painting, I want to paint fast because it's kind of boring to watch. Okay. Sometimes it's when I get sloppy. I'll just take a little bit of water and all right, it's more of a purple bowl than this picture is, but that's okay with me. Okay, I just have these last couple spots to do and we got it. Let's start up here. Two more steps, a little bit of Payne's Gray and a little bit of water. Okay, I'm just going to dampen edges here. And there's some little dark spots. Call it good. There we go.